The science behind persuasion attempts to figure out how to present information in a way that influences the recipient to act or think in a particular manner. Persuasion is defined as the process of influencing people using rational or symbolic means. That is, the tools at our disposal are both rational, such as logical reasons, rational arguments, and evidence, as well as symbolic, such as how, when, and where arguments are presented. The fact that there are two channels through which arguments become persuasive is very important and interesting. Actually, most people might expect that all it takes to be persuasive is a solid logical argument supported by facts and evidence. That is, if we prepare carefully and assemble the facts into a rational argument, then any person that hears those arguments will immediately change their minds and adopt any behavior or way of thinking that we are suggesting. They will buy anything that we are selling or believe anything that we are proposing. Sadly, nothing could be further from the truth. As Dan Ariely, a great behavioral economist, argues in his book Predictably Irrational, quote, "We are pawns in a game whose forces we largely fail to comprehend. We usually think of ourselves as sitting in the driver's seat with ultimate control over the decisions we make and the direction our life takes. But this perception has more to do with our desires, with how we want to view ourselves, than with reality." End of quote. That is, after studying cognitive psychology, where we learn about all the many cognitive biases that influence our decision-making process, as well as just kind of reflecting on our own behaviors, it might be easy to start to think that we are all irrational and therefore our rational logical arguments are not really that important. Well, that is also not true. Research shows that strong arguments can be persuasive, but they will only be effective when people are motivated to think carefully about the issues. Without such motivation, they will only believe evidence that fits with what they already believe, the biased assimilation effect. So rational persuasion requires that we have set the stage appropriately. We need to combine framing with rational arguments. So do prepare rational arguments, but also make sure that your arguments are solid. You need to know the subject so well that you will come across as an expert. You will take advantage of the power of information. You have to have your facts straight. A single falsehood or misrepresentation and your rational argument will lose its power. If you are not trustworthy, or if you are simply wrong, then you will not be persuasive. So it seems that despite all the biases that we are subject to, we are sensitive to reason. We can recognize bad arguments or arguments that the other party is not able to back up with facts and evidence. Okay, let's assume that you have prepared a rational argument that can be supported by facts and evidence. Now, what should you do? Well, the first thing I want you to do right now is to draw a big elephant. Then draw a person sitting on top of that elephant. And finally, draw a path on which the elephant is walking. You should pause this video while you do this. And then you should share your drawing with all your friends. Now, the picture that you have drawn represents the mind of people. It represents your brain and your mind. The elephant represents our emotional side. This is the old brain, the automatic processes that control your body. It is the unconscious part of the brain. And by far, most of the decisions that you make every day are in fact controlled by this very large elephant. This elephant is super efficient and incredibly powerful. The rider sitting on top of the elephant represents the control processes of your brain, reasoning and conscious planning. This part of your mind is not quite as powerful. For one thing, it can only consciously think about one thing at a time. The conscious mind is in fact fragile. It gets tired. It's like a muscle. What about the path? The path represents the external environment that affects the decisions that we make. The situation and the environment in which a decision is made can significantly influence what we decide to do or think. And by changing the situation, we might be able to influence people's behavior. All right, so let's think about this a little bit. Who is in control of our decision making? The elephant or the rider? The rider who weighs, say, 180 pounds is sitting on top of the elephant that weighs 8,000 pounds. Suppose they come to a fork in a road. You, the rider, is sitting up high and you can see far down the road, and you think the left road is the better one. The elephant, however, has a gut feeling that the right road is in fact better. Which road will you end up taking? As the rider, you can grab the reins and direct the elephant to the left. And for a short minute, it might look like you are getting the elephant to move in your direction just by sheer effort. But as soon as you get a bit tired and stop pulling, the elephant immediately starts to walk down the right road. At which point there is nothing you can do. So, when you have a rider on top of an elephant, the rider is better viewed as an advisor. The rider can try to help the elephant make a better decision. But in the end, the 4-ton elephant can always decide to follow its own road. I will stop here and let you try to figure this analogy out.